Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A heading that names a statute or legislative bill may give a brief summary of the matters it deals with. Designate by an identifying term. A legal document signed and sealed and delivered to effect a transfer of property and to show the legal right to possess it. He kept the title to his car in the glove compartment. The status of being a champion. He held the title for 2 years. An identifying appellation signifying status or function, e.g., Mr. or General. The professor didn't like his friends to use his formal title. An established or recognized right. He had no documents confirming his title to his father's estate. An informal right to something. His title to fame. Give a title to. A general or descriptive heading for a section of a written work. The novel had chapter titles. An appellation signifying nobility. Your Majesty is the appropriate title to use in addressing a king. The name of a work of art or literary composition, etc. He looked for books with the word jazz in the title. Usually plural, written material introduced into a movie or TV show to give credits or represent dialogue or explain an action. The titles go by faster than I can read. A heading that names a statute or legislative bill may give a brief summary of the matters it deals with. An explanation or definition of an obscure word in a text. Adorn with ruby red color. An authoritative rule of conduct or procedure. A title or heading that is printed in red or in a special type. Category name. It is usually discussed under the rubric of functional obesity. Directions for the conduct of Christian church services, often printed in red in a prayer book. A heading that names a statute or legislative bill may give a brief summary of the matters it deals with. Designate by an identifying term. They styled their nation, the Confederate States. The popular taste at a given time. The 1920s had a style of their own. Distinctive and stylish elegance. A pointed tool for writing or drawing or engraving. How something is done or how it happens. In the characteristic New York style. A way of expressing something, in language or art or music, etc. that is characteristic of a particular person or group of people or period. All the reporters were expected to adopt the style of the newspaper. A particular kind, as to appearance. This style of shoe is in demand. A slender bristle-like or tubular process. A cartilaginous style. Botany, the narrow elongated part of the pistil between the ovary and the stigma. Editorial directions to be followed in spelling and punctuation and capitalization and typographical display. Make consistent with a certain fashion or style. Style the dress. Make consistent with certain rules of style. Style a manuscript. Something that people do or cause to happen. A legal document signed and sealed and delivered to effect a transfer of property and to show the legal right to possess it. He signed the deed. A legal document signed and sealed and delivered to effect a transfer of property and to show the legal right to possess it. The status of being a champion. The act of providing approval and support. A competition at which a champion is chosen. An identifying appellation signifying status or function, e.g., Mr. or General. An identifying appellation signifying status or function, e.g., Mr. or General. A demand especially in the phrase lay claim to, as of an idea. Take as an undesirable consequence of some event or state of affairs. The accident claimed 3 lives. Demand as being one's due or property. Assert one's right or title to. He claimed his suitcases at the airline counter. An established or recognized right. A strong legal claim to the property. An informal right to something. His claim on her attentions. An assertion of a right, as to money or property. His claim asked for damages. An assertion that something is true or factual. His claim that he was innocent. Ask for legally or make a legal claim to, as of debts, for example. They claimed on the maximum allowable amount. Assert or affirm strongly. State to be true or existing. He claimed that he killed the burglar. Demand for something as rightful or due. They struck in support of their claim for a shorter workday. Give a title to someone. Make someone a member of the nobility. Give a title to. Give the right to. The Freedom of Information Act entitles you to request your FBI file. Brick that is laid sideways at the top of a wall. Horizontal beam used as a finishing piece over a door or window. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. A framing member crossing and supporting the ends of joists, studs, or rafters so as to transfer their weight to parallel joists, studs, or rafters. A headlong jump, or fall. He took a header into the shrubbery. A machine that cuts the heads off grain and moves them into a wagon. Soccer. The act of hitting the ball with your head. Computer science. A tiny electromagnetic coil and metal pole used to write and read magnetic patterns on a disk. Be in charge of. Who is heading this project? A person who is in charge. The head of the whole operation. That which is responsible for one's thoughts, feelings, and conscious brain functions. The seat of the faculty of reason. I couldn't get his words out of my head. Be the first or leading member of a group and excel. This student heads the class. The educator who has executive authority for a school. The upper part of the human body or the front part of the body in animals contains the face and brains. He stuck his head out the window. Travel in front of. Go in advance of others. The procession was headed by John. The part in the front or nearest the viewer. He was at the head of the column. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. The heading seemed to have little to do with the text. A V-shaped mark at one end of an arrow pointer. A difficult juncture. Matters came to a head yesterday. Forward movement. The ship made little headway against the gale. Oral stimulation of the genitals. They say he gives good head. A dense cluster of flowers or foliage. A head of cauliflower. The subject matter at issue. Under the head of minor Roman poets. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. The source of water from which a stream arises. They tracked him back toward the head of the stream. A natural elevation, especially a rocky one that jets out into the sea. Grammar, the word in a grammatical constituent that plays the same grammatical role as the whole constituent. A membrane that is stretched taut over a drum. An individual person. Tickets are $5 per head. A projection out from one end. The head of the nail. A rounded compact mass. The head of a comet. A single domestic animal. 200 head of cattle. A user of, usually soft, drugs. The office was full of secret heads. Be in the front of or on top of. The list was headed by the name of the president. Form a head or come or grow to a head. The wheat headed early this year. Nautical. A toilet on board a boat or ship. Remove the head of. Head the fish. Take its rise. These rivers head from a mountain range in the Himalayas. That part of a skeletal muscle that is away from the bone that it moves. The foam or froth that accumulates at the top when you pour an effervescent liquid into a container. The beer had a large head of foam. The front of a military formation or procession. The head of the column advanced boldly. The length or height based on the size of a human or animal head. He is 2 heads taller than his little sister. The pressure exerted by a fluid. A head of steam. The rounded end of a bone that fits into a rounded cavity in another bone to form a joint. The head of the humerus. The striking part of a tool. The head of the hammer. The tip of an abscess, where the pus accumulates. The top of something. The head of the stairs. To go or travel towards. Where is she heading? Usually plural, the obverse side of a coin that usually bears the representation of a person's head. Call heads or tails. The direction or path along which something moves or along which it lies. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. The heading seemed to have little to do with the text. A horizontal, or nearly horizontal, passageway in a mine. Assign a specified, usually proper name to. Look on as or consider. Assign a specified, usually proper name to. They named their son David. Give or make a list of. Name individually. Give the names of. Give the name or identifying characteristics of. Refer to by name or some other identifying characteristic property. Many senators were named in connection with the scandal. Family based on male descent. He had no sons and there was no one to carry on his name. Determine or distinguish the nature of a problem or an illness through a diagnostic analysis. Charge with a function. Charge to be. She was named head of the committee. Identify as in botany or biology, for example. A defamatory or abusive word or phrase. A well-known or notable person. They studied all the great names in the history of France. Make reference to. His name was mentioned in connection with the invention. Create and charge with a task or function. A language unit by which a person or thing is known. His name really is George Washington. A person's reputation. He wanted to protect his good name. By the sanction or authority of. Halt in the name of the law. Mention and identify by name. Name your accomplices. Assign a specified, usually proper name to. Look on as or consider. Assign a specified, usually proper name to. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Order, request, or command to come. She was called into the director's office. Utter a sudden loud cry. Pay a brief visit. The mayor likes to call on some of the prominent citizens. The option to buy a given stock, or stock index or commodity future, at a given price before a given date. A demand by a broker that a customer deposit enough to bring his margin up to the minimum requirement. A demand especially in the phrase. The call of duty. A telephone connection. She reported several anonymous calls. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Greet, as with a prescribed form, title, or name. She calls him by first name. Demand payment of a loan. Give the calls to the dancers for a square dance. Get or try to get into communication with someone by telephone. I tried to call you all night. The characteristic sound produced by a bird. Make a demand, as for a card or a suit or a show of hands. He called his trump. A brief social visit. Senior professors' wives no longer make afternoon calls on newcomers. A demand for a show of hands in a card game. After 2 raises there was a call. An instruction that interrupts the program being executed. Pascal performs calls by simply giving the name of the routine to be executed. A request. Many calls for Christmas stories. Ascribe a quality to or give a name of a common noun that reflects a quality. He called me a bastard. A special disposition, as if from a divine source, to pursue a particular course. A visit in an official or professional capacity. The pastor's calls on his parishioners. Call a meeting. Invite or command to meet. The 1C conference was called to discuss the final solution. Challenge. Somebody, to make good on a statement. Charge with or censure for an offense. He deserves to be called on that. Challenge the sincerity or truthfulness of. Call the speaker on a question of fact. Consider or regard as being. I would not call her beautiful. Declare in the capacity of an umpire or referee. Call a runner out. Indicate a decision in regard to. Call balls and strikes behind the plate. Lure by imitating the characteristic call of an animal. Make a stop in a harbor. The ship will call in Honolulu tomorrow. Order or request or give a command for. The unions called a general strike for Sunday. Order, summon, or request for a specific duty or activity, work, role. He was already called 4 times for jury duty. Read aloud to check for omissions or absentees. Require the presentation of for redemption before maturation. Rouse somebody from sleep with a call. I was called at 5 a.m. this morning. Send a message or attempt to reach someone by radio, phone, etc. Make a signal in order to transmit a message. Hawaii is calling. Sports. The decision made by an umpire or referee. He was ejected for protesting the call. Stop or postpone because of adverse conditions, such as bad weather. Call a football game. Utter a characteristic note or cry. Blue jays called to one another. Utter in a loud voice or announce. He called my name. Law. A document that states some contractual relationship or grants some right. Law. A document that states some contractual relationship or grants some right. Write an instrumental score for. Any of various devices or contrivances that can be used to produce musical tones or sounds. The means whereby some act is accomplished. My greed was the instrument of my destruction. A person used by another to gain an end. Law. A document that states some contractual relationship or grants some right. The semantic role of the entity, usually inanimate, that the agent uses to perform an action or start a process. Address a legal document to. A device that requires skill for proper use. Equip with instruments for measuring, recording, or controlling. Law. A document that states some contractual relationship or grants some right. A position of superior status. Identifying word or words by which someone or something is called and classified or distinguished from others. A class of one kind of unit in a system of numbers or measures or weights or money. He flashed a fistful of bills of large denominations. A group of religious congregations having its own organization and a distinctive faith. Identifying word or words by which someone or something is called and classified or distinguished from others. The act of designating or identifying something. The act of putting a person into a non-elective position. Identifying word or words by which someone or something is called and classified or distinguished from others. A geographical indication used to identify where the grapes for a wine are grown. Identifying word or words by which someone or something is called and classified or distinguished from others. Inclined to or serving for the giving of names. The appellative faculty of children. Pertaining to or dealing with or used as a common noun. A right based in law. Make right or correct. Correct in opinion or judgment. Time proved him right. Intended for the right hand. A right-hand glove. The piece of ground in the outfield on the catcher's right. Informal, very. Used informally as an intensifier. A right fine day. Exactly. Socially right or correct. It isn't right to leave the party without saying goodbye. Southern regional intensive, very, to a great degree. They have a right nice place. Anything in accord with principles of justice. He feels he is in the right. In an accurate manner. He guessed right. Those who support political or social or economic conservatism. Those who believe that things are better left unchanged. In accord with accepted standards of usage or procedure. What's the right word for this? Precisely accurate. Free from error, especially conforming to fact or truth. The right answer. To a complete degree or to the full or entire extent, whole, is often used informally for wholly. She felt right at home. Make reparations or amends for. Right a wrongs done to the victims of the Holocaust. Appropriate for a condition or purpose or occasion or a person's character, needs. The right man for the job. Most suitable or right for a particular purpose. The right time to act. In the right manner, correctly, suitably. The hand that is on the right side of the body. He writes with his right hand but pitches with his left. In accordance with moral or social standards. That serves him right. An interjection expressing agreement. An abstract idea of that which is due to a person or governmental body by law or tradition or nature. Certain rights can never be granted to the government but must be kept in the hands of the people. A turn toward the side of the body that is on the south when the person is facing east. Take a right at the corner. Being or located on or directed toward the side of the body to the east when facing north. My right hand. Frequently plural, the interest possessed by law or custom in some intangible thing. Mineral rights. Having the axis perpendicular to the base. A right angle. In conformance with justice or law or morality. Do the right thing and confess. In or into a satisfactory condition. Things are right again now. Location near or direction toward the right side, i.e. the side to the south when a person or object faces east. He stood on the right. Of or belonging to the political or intellectual right. Of the side of cloth or clothing, facing or intended to face outward. The right side of the cloth showed the pattern. Put in or restore to an upright position. They righted the sailboat that had capsized. Regain an upright or proper position. The capsized boat righted again. Toward or on the right, also used figuratively. He looked right and left. A heading of a subdivision of a text. A heading of a subdivision of a text.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.